She paid $8 million just to spend one night with a stranger, but that stranger was the man who had secretly loved her for 10 long years. What happens next will leave you speechless. Stay till the end and don't forget to subscribe to this channel for more heart-wrenching, emotional miracle stories that will touch your soul. Heartbreak. When Aurora Lynn stood before the mirror in her luxury penthouse overlooking the glittering skyline of Manhattan, her reflection no longer looked like the naive girl who once believed in forever. Her eyes were hollow, her lips trembling, her soul broken into 1,000 pieces, because just hours ago she had walked in on her fiancé, the man she had sacrificed everything for, in bed with her best friend, the same best friend who had once sworn to protect her secrets. Betrayal burned in her veins like acid, and in that moment of devastation, something inside her shattered beyond repair, pushing her into a darkness she had never known. Aurora had inherited her late father's billion-dollar empire, but love had always been the one thing she could never buy, until that night, when in a fit of emotional chaos, pain, and rage, she made the craziest decision of her life. She would pay a man, any man, $8 million to spend one night with her, not out of lust, but to destroy the last piece of innocence inside her heart that still believed love was pure. Her assistant, terrified but loyal, arranged the transaction through an exclusive underground agency that catered to the world's richest and most damaged souls, and from their secret files, a name was chosen: Ethan Cross, a mysterious man with a reputation of being dangerously calm, impossibly handsome, and utterly unreachable. When Aurora met him in the private suite of the Rosewood Hotel, time seemed to stop. He stood tall, dressed in black, eyes like storm clouds, his aura so commanding it made her heart forget how to beat. She thought she was paying for pain, but the way he looked at her, as if she was the only woman that had ever existed, made her knees tremble with confusion. She tried to act cold, tried to treat it like a transaction, but Ethan's voice, deep and laced with a sadness she couldn't understand, broke her walls one by one. When his hand brushed her cheek and he whispered, "You don't have to do this, Aurora," her heart froze. How did he know her name? Panic flooded her, but before she could question him, tears escaped her eyes, and she collapsed into his arms, sobbing like a child. He held her, not like a man who was paid, but like a man who had waited his whole life just to protect her. Their night was nothing like she expected. It was not about desire or revenge, but about silence, warmth, and the strange electricity of two broken souls finding each other in the ruins of pain. She fell asleep in his arms, unaware that the man she believed was a stranger had been secretly watching over her for 10 long years. Her childhood neighbor, the boy who once gave her his umbrella in a storm, the man who had built an empire just to be worthy of her, the hidden CEO of Cross Enterprises, one of the most powerful conglomerates in the world. The next morning, Aurora woke up to find him gone, the room empty except for a note that read, "You deserved love, not betrayal. You deserved to be held, not bought." Her heart twisted with regret, confusion, and a haunting longing she couldn't explain. For weeks, she couldn't sleep, couldn't eat, haunted by his eyes, his touch, his words, so gentle, yet so full of something deeper. She ordered her investigators to find him, but Ethan Cross seemed to vanish from existence. No records, no trace, as if he had never been real. Meanwhile, unknown to her, Ethan was fighting his own demons. He had loved her since the day he first saw her as a teenager, painting by the lake, sunlight in her hair, but when she fell for another man, he buried his love, building his empire in silence, waiting for the day she might need him. And that night, when her assistant's desperate message reached the private agency he secretly owned, he took the request himself, unable to let another man touch the woman he'd loved for a decade. Weeks passed, and Aurora's ex-fiancé and best friend flaunted their engagement in public, making headlines that shattered her pride. But when her company was suddenly targeted by an unknown rival, her world began to collapse again, until Ethan reappeared at her office as the mysterious CEO of the corporation that had just acquired her company in a billion-dollar deal. The shock almost made her faint. The man she had paid to sleep with was now her new boss, and the one person who could destroy or save her. She confronted him, furious and humiliated, demanding why he played with her life, but his calm gaze silenced her rage as he said, "Because I couldn't watch you destroy yourself. Because I've loved you since before you even knew my name." The words sliced through her defenses like glass. She refused to believe it at first, thinking it was just pity, manipulation, but Ethan's quiet actions spoke louder than anything. He protected her company from corporate vultures, secretly helped her father's charity survive bankruptcy, and even defended her reputation in the press without taking credit. Yet fate was cruel. The ex-fiancé, threatened by Ethan's power, conspired with Aurora's best friend to destroy both of them. They hacked her company accounts, planted fake evidence of fraud, and framed Aurora for embezzling millions. Overnight, she went from heiress to criminal, betrayed once more by the people she once called family. But when the police arrived to arrest her, Ethan appeared again, this time in handcuffs, taking the blame for her crimes, confessing publicly to what she hadn't done. The world turned upside down as the news spread. Billionaire CEO Ethan Cross admits to corporate scandal to protect lover. Aurora was in shock, screaming, begging the police to listen, but Ethan only smiled and said, "Now you'll finally be free." In prison, Ethan's health deteriorated. He had an incurable heart condition, worsened by stress, something he had hidden for years. Aurora's entire world fell apart. The man she had once paid to touch her was now dying to save her. She sold everything, her jewelry, her properties, even the engagement ring that once symbolized betrayal, and used the money to hire the best lawyers in the world. When the truth finally came out, that her ex and best friend had forged the evidence, Ethan was released, but barely alive. Aurora rushed to the hospital, falling to her knees beside his bed, sobbing uncontrollably, whispering, "You idiot, why would you do this for me?" His weak smile broke her completely as he whispered, "Because 10 years ago, you gave me a reason to live, and I promised that if I ever saw you cry again, I'd take your pain away, no matter what it cost me." She held his hand, praying, promising she'd never let him go again, but his pulse was fading. The doctors said he wouldn't make it through the night. Aurora, desperate, turned to the very same underground network that once helped her find him, offering $8 million again, not for a night, but for a miracle, to save the man she loved. A brilliant surgeon, flown in secretly, performed a high-risk heart transplant in the middle of a stormy night. Against all odds, Ethan survived, and when he opened his eyes days later, the first thing he saw was Aurora's face, glowing with tears and hope. She whispered, "You saved me once, now it's my turn." Months later, as autumn leaves fell over the city, Aurora and Ethan walked hand in hand through the same park where they'd first met as children. She had rebuilt her company, but now she worked with Ethan as partners, not competitors, using their wealth to help betrayed and broken women start over. The story of their love spread across the world, turning from scandal to legend. And every time someone asked how their love began, Aurora would smile softly and say, "With $8 million and a broken heart." But in her eyes, she knew it wasn't money that brought them together, it was fate, forgiveness, and a love that had waited a decade to be found. As the sun set behind them, Ethan kissed her forehead and whispered, "You once paid me to be yours for one night, but I'm yours for eternity now." And for the first time in years, Aurora's heart finally felt peace, not bought, not borrowed, but earned through pain, sacrifice, and the kind of love that turns tragedy into destiny. Heartbreak sparkles.